Please bear with me for 1 minute while I get some slides up. Thank you, Michael, by the way. Michael has been a great mentor and friend of mine for the last 15 years, and I truly appreciate the fact that he invited me up here to speak today. Please bear with me. Okay. So we'll let that sit for a while because I'm going to break my presentation into two parts. And again, first I want to thank MC for inviting me up here. It's an honor to be here. Michael has been a great mentor and friend of mine, and also an honor to be amongst this distinguished panel. When I looked at the other speakers with Kathleen and Scott and Casey, frankly, I was flattered to be here. You're looking at three very powerful, successful leaders and change makers. So it's a pleasure to be here. And I want to also thank the students that put this together. Thank you very much. When Michael approached me about a month and a half ago and I started giving some thought to what I would talk about, I read a little, Michael sent me some literature on the SEER program, and I thought long and hard about, boy, I could talk about Patagonia, but I think Casey's got that going, and I don't want to touch that. So the thing that struck me most when Michael mentioned the phrase tragedy of choice is that I've lived it both, I think, on my personal side and in my business career as well. And from an iPath perspective, which is what the latter part of my presentation we'll talk about today, I'm a living, breathing case study. So I'm knee-deep in this model today, and the case study hasn't been written. I'm sure you've all read case studies about Patagonia and other successful companies. My case study, hopefully you'll read it in 3 years, and it'll be successful, but it's yet to be written. iPath we're in the process of developing our core values. We are trying to gain traction in a really crowded action sports marketplace. We're trying to gain an emotional attachment to our customers. We've never had that. And overall, we're trying to do this in a really, really tough economy. I mean, the retail market today is very difficult. So I'm trying to implement what all you are learning in school in a really difficult economy. So it's quite a challenge. But before I get into iPath, I do want to talk a little bit about how I got here today and my career path, as Michael mentioned. As you can see from my bio, I did have a bit of a circuitous path to where I'm at. And along the way, it took me some time to find out what my values were. And when I say my own values, I don't mean those values that my parents and my mentors and my teachers inculcated in me as a child. I'm talking about those things that are important to me as an employee in my workplace. And so I thought back to beginning with my time in the Navy. And there were three things that struck me with my time in the Navy. I spent over 9 years. I was passionate about the product or the service I was providing. And with the Navy, it might sound kind of odd, but I was serving the country, and I was passionate about that. Secondly, I enjoyed the people I was working with, and we all had an unwavering commitment to a common goal, which in our case was to come home safely and accomplish the task. And lastly, I was actually very passionate about the work I was doing. So day to day, I loved the work. I grew up as an athlete, and that job as a SEAL was an extension of just that. So to repeat, I was passionate about the service I was providing. I enjoyed the people I was working with, and we all shared that unwavering commitment to a common goal. And I loved the day-to-day work. Those are my three pillars. Those were the pillars of my model. And I was 3 for 3. I was batting 1,000. So if you fast forward, I went to a different business school post Navy, and now that I've seen the view here, I wish I'd have gone to Pepperdine because I endured 2 harsh winters in Chicago. I moved on to Patagonia, as Michael mentioned, and again, if you look at those three pillars I discussed, I was extremely passionate about the product. I mean, you can't beat what Patagonia provides from a product perspective, from the quality, from the social and environmental responsibility. The people I worked with were unbelievable. So I had number 2 nailed, and we were all 100% committed to that common goal, which is Patagonia's mission statement, which Casey, I'm sure, will delve into. And lastly, the work itself. I jumped out of bed every day, anxious to get to work. I was, especially with international, on any given day, I was dealing with a different country, a different issue, a different challenge. I love the diversity and having to wake up and be flexible. So again, I love the product, I love the people, and I love the work I was doing. So I don't want to, I don't know whose term it was, but the term tragedy of choice is pretty relevant to me, because I was offered a job at this transportation company, $1 billion, 6,000 employees, and just an unbelievable leadership challenge. And the tragedy of choice was the compensation package was unbelievable as well. And I remember having conversations with Michael and conversations with my wife and saying, gosh, this is really a life changer. What I didn't say was, does that fit my model? And I knew pretty quickly jumping in that it didn't fit my model. Was I passionate about the work, or in this case, the service I was providing? So this company, just to give you a short synopsis, it's like the city of Los Angeles would say, hey, we're going to outsource a 5-year contract for somebody to run LA City Transit for this district. And so we would put together a financial model saying, future gas prices, future labor prices. We negotiate labor union agreements with the Teamsters or other labor unions, and we'd submit this model to the city, and you were locked into that price if you won that contract, and you'd run city transit. So we had over 150 divisions around the United States running city transit, also what they call paratransit. So if I look at my pillars, was I passionate about the product or the service? In this case, it was a service. Yeah, sure, it's a noble cause, right? City transportation. If you get more people to ride the buses, then there's less people on the streets driving cars. So somewhat noble. Did I have something in common with my colleagues? No, I didn't. And to me, the litmus test was, if you go to dinner with your colleagues, are you struggling to find something to talk about? And in my case, I was. Was I passionate about the work I was doing? That was probably the most critical component. I would spend 15, 16, 17-hour days at the labor union negotiating table, sitting across from 8 individuals from various unions. And I remember one story in particular that I'll relate quickly. I'm a huge Laker fan, and I'm not a big basketball player, but for whatever reason, I love the Lakers. Several years ago, the Lakers played the Celtics. It was Game 7 of the finals, and the final day of our negotiation was on that night. And I remember telling the union head, we got to knock this out. Let's start at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was the 5th day. I said, this thing has to be done by 6 o'clock because I'm going to watch this game. This thing drug on, and this thing drug on. And the sticky point for me was this, and it goes back to probably how I was raised. I was raised in a very traditional environment where you work hard for everything you earn. And I'll give a quick example. This particular contract was called paratransit. So if my driver would pick up you and take you to the grocery store, and I would get paid for that trip from the time I picked you up until the time I drop you off. And then there'd be some deadhead, some time between where I'd leave you at the grocery store and pick up my next passenger at the next stop. I wasn't paid by the city for that deadhead. I was paid for the next trip. So if my drivers dilly-dallied in between trips, I lost money. So it was all about efficiencies, and passengers per hour was the figure, the statistic we went by. So I proposed to the union that we go for a scaled program, meaning if your drivers are more efficient, they get more money. So if they don't go to the donut shop in between trips, my productivity goes up, the city pays me more, I will therefore pay you more. They wanted nothing to do with it, nothing. They said, we don't want to be bothered. We want to go from point A to point B, flat rate. We can't be bothered. If we want to stop, we're going to stop. For me, that was a seminal moment, because I just thought the American way was you work harder, you make more money. In this particular case, it wasn't the case. The negotiation dragged on until 8 o'clock at night. It was halfway through the game. I was really in a bad mood. And I finally walked in and I said, if you don't sign this in the next 20 minutes, I'm leaving. And I'm driving home to San Diego. And of course, they came back in, they signed it, but I missed the game because it took a while and so for me, that was the end. So I didn't, and the Lakers won. That was the only saving grace. So in hindsight, I didn't stay committed to my own personal model. And I think as we get into iPath and you'll hear from some of the other businesses and you hear what Kathleen talked about, every day we face tragedies of choice in our business lives, and not just business, but personal lives. And my choice was big leadership position, money that could potentially change your life, but I was really unhappy. I didn't stay true to my own personal model. So I left after 2 years, which leads me to where I am today, which is iPath Footwear. And again, I think you've probably read several case studies of successful brands, and we are not. We bought the company from Timberland in January of this year. It was started in 1998 by two skateboarders out of San Francisco, and I'll get into a little more of the background. But the challenge I have today is that how do I create that culture? Because right now it doesn't exist. And how do I create that emotional attachment with my customers? And what are our core values? Because you'll see from my slides shortly, the values were all over the map. They didn't know what they wanted to be. And I'll give you my quick synopsis. And I think you'll laugh when you read the text, but that's how I viewed iPath when we bought the company. And I think some of you will question why I even took this challenge on. But the answer, in short, for me, is that it fit my pillars. It fit my own model. So the key question for me is, how do I create a brand environment by establishing a clear set of values and making them actionable at every touch point? I'm guessing most of you don't know anything about the skate industry. It is a very incestuous, very old school, bro-down industry. I mean, it's not like surf, it's not like outdoor, it is. Every brand is expected to have 12 pro skaters, let them travel the world on your dime and party. And that is and run 200 grand worth of print ads every year. That's sort of kind of the old school notion. Everyone knows that model doesn't work, but you have that old guard in place telling you that's what's got to be done. iPath, again, was 1998, streets of San Francisco. Different from the start, very, very different from the start. If you know anything about the skate industry with DC shoes and with Vans, they're all very homogenous, vulcanized shoes, but very solid brands. iPath from the beginning said, we're going to be the anti-skate. We're going to make like a Clark's Wallaby and make it skateable, so kids can ride their board and then get off and go to an art gallery and still look fashionable. So it was a very unique point about iPath. They just never did anything with it. So they were always very different, but never tried to do anything different with distribution. They tried to sell into the same skate shops that everyone else was selling into, so they never gained any traction. They had a unique slogan. It was "Follow your path." So follow your path, whatever that might be. But again, they never did anything with it. It went through 2007 with the original owners. Timberland bought it in 2007. We bought it from Timberland just in January. So here we are today. And this is going to give you a little bit more background on iPath itself. This is my synopsis, and I'll read it real quickly. So today, iPath is a one-dimensional, semi-dysfunctional, niche skate footwear company with little branded equity and self-awareness, struggling to connect with a saturated and segmented marketplace in a down economy. It does not have a deep understanding of who it is, where it's going, who it competes with, how it's positioned in the market, and why it's unique and different. So that's honestly what I felt like I inherited. And I don't know if you could add anything worse than this to that synopsis. And when I put this up in front of the team, I will tell you there were a lot of heads nodding. I mean, I think everyone collectively agreed. This is some collateral you might see from iPath, and I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but this is what I inherited right here. And for those of you who don't know, 420 is symbolic of course, marijuana. And I was telling Scott and Casey last night of 20 T-shirts that I inherited, graphic tees. 18 of them had that somewhere emblazoned on the T-shirt. Okay, so there's probably a market for that. It's just really, really small. More collateral, just to give you an idea, and we had no brand persona, no consistency of message, a pretty antiquated skate team that no one had heard of, and very ineffective marketing. One of the things you'll notice with Prana and Patagonia in particular is that logo never changes. It's almost like Apple. And to me, that's one of the things I took away from Patagonia was that thing is untouchable. Well, you look at iPath, there's a few variations right there, and then you look at, there's a lot more variations right there. They never really knew who they wanted to be. Every season, you know, every time the wind changed, they had a new logo or a new script going. The product line lacked a point of view, and the product line wasn't aligned with the distributor. With the distribution, when I talk about that, for those of you that have been into a skate shop, it's all the usual suspects, the vulcanized shoe. Our shoes are very different, but yet they tried to sell them into the same shops. So These are shoes that we've been approached by Nordstrom and Tilly's and PacSun and San Diego, yet nobody had the wherewithal, the foresight to say, hey, maybe our shoes will work there, rather than these mom and pop shops that place an order for maybe 2 size runs a year and don't pay us on time when they get the product. Pretty dysfunctional model. But that's a standard skate shoe right there. And there's about 20 companies in the industry, two of which have folded this year, 2 of whom have folded this year. But you've got your 800-pound gorillas, your Nikes now on the scene. You can see in the bottom right. So where are we going? How do we find that iPath voice? This is another chart I put up, and I won't read through all of it, but it's basically taking it from living in the past to creating the future, leading that dysfunctional brand to a focused global lifestyle brand. If it's follow your path doesn't just have to be skateboarding. It can be board sports. It can be passion for any ride. One of the things I liked about a campaign that Casey and his crew ran was called The Cleanest Line. The cleanest line can apply to whether it's surfing on a wave, climbing a mountain, skiing down a run, and bombing down a hill. So we try, to me, follow your path is sort of along the same lines as that, and it can apply. So let's not limit ourselves to just skate. Complacent, boring, voiceless, confident, creative, and inspiring roster of dirtbag skate rats. Let's find some creative advocates, people who truly are emotionally attached to the brand for something. So we held an offsite meeting. We said, okay, what are our core values? And what I've listed here are some of the things that popped up that are still being decided. We know what we want to do, but honesty, integrity, individuality, self-expression, telling stories, inspiring the environment, the great outdoors, giving back. So you've got your social responsibility, your business practices. I have the luxury of forming this, so it's been a lot of fun for me to be able to decide what are our core values going to be. We've also now segmented our line into lifestyle, which is going to be our volume, skateboarding, and premium. We're going to clearly promote the iPath message consistently. It won't be T-shirts with 420 across all 20 Ts. And we're going to deliver compelling products and grow our resources within each segment. First thing we wanted to do was get away from sort of that block-heavy iPath script. We were born on the streets of San Francisco. We were very artisan-oriented, anti-skate skates. We came up with a nice script that we felt better fits who we want to be. So on the right is the new. We compared that with some other brands, and choosing that, it's in some of the top brands, you can see sort of what makes those logos stand out. I'm just giving you an idea of the thought process that went through choosing that new script. So this is the iPath script logo, and this is one of our ads that we ran. It signifies the departure point, the start of a new journey. This is our signature and our stamp of approval. So anything that's stamped with that is going to have those core values embedded in it, whether it's product, whether it's collateral, anything like that. Just some different ideas of how we move forward on the collateral side. Those are our segments right there with some age blocks, and you can see where the volume is. The volume is not on the skate side. We'll always have to be there because that keeps us core and authentic. But where this company survives is in that middle section. Again, more collateral. If you think back to that previous slide with a 420 T-shirt and compare it to this, it's 180 degrees out. It's a positive message. This is a traditional skateboard magazine advertisement, and if you flip through a 100-page magazine for skate, you'll see skateboarder pulling a trick, his signature shoe, and then the company's logo. You flip the page, it's the same ad for a different company. You flip the page, it's the same ad. There's nothing to make a kid stop on any page in that magazine. So again, welcome to the new. No shoe, no product, just here's iPath, and we have our oldest skater bombing a hill in San Francisco. Welcome to change. Welcome to the new. So we put together a little brand book, and I want to get into, we'll get into a little bit of detail here on our core values, but this is what we're going out to our retailers with. We actually have to set reset on the brand. So all these retailers who know iPath to be a certain thing for the last 10, 12 years, now we've got to go out and say, hey, we're new owners, and we've just set the reset button, and this is who we are. And I will tell you, I did it this week. I was in Los Angeles. A lot of them are scratching their heads. So okay, so you've got hemp, and you've got vegan materials, and You've got a factory that's using water-soluble glues, and but they're not getting it yet. So it's frustrating. Everyone's saying, get some traction and then come back and talk to me. Problem is, where I get traction is by getting my shoes on the shelves. So, but this is what they're seeing right here. So, this is our mission today. It's going to change. This is a work in progress. Inspire self-expression and passion for the ride within the action sports community. But you look at those 5 bullet points in the bottom. iPath is born from skateboarding, but not limited to. It's authentic, it's creative, it's free-spirited, and it's environmentally aware. Well, what does environmentally aware mean? As most of you probably are aware, footwear is an inherently dirty business. It's really tough. You've got a lot of glue involved. But iPath has always used vegan materials. They've always used hemps and canvases and not used leathers. And in fact, a quick story, the suede shoes seemed to be picking up last season, so some of our lines shifted to more suede than hemp and vegan. The biggest feedback we got from our retailers was, where's all your hemp and vegan material shoes? Where's all your hemp and canvases? So now we've gone back to it. Again, tragedy of choice. The suede shoes picked up. Our merchandisers said, hey, you need more suede. We made more suede. Our retailers pushed back and said, well, why are you doing that? You're just chasing a trend. So every day we're facing tragedy of choice. But with these 5 bullet points, again, we have to stay true to our model. iPath will use the follow your path message to inspire people to be original and follow their creative passions. That's an idea of our footwear. So again, this is in the brand book: environmentally friendly, hand-stitched details, premium material stories, high-quality manufacturing. The other piece of that is the emotional attachment. How do we get customers to buy into what we're doing? And that's probably our toughest thing, because we had a very core niche group of skateboarders that followed our brand. I need a bigger audience. I need kids. I need mothers who will go in and buy iPath shoes for their kids. And 420 t-shirts aren't going to make that happen. So, it's things like the Artist Collective. We just did this on Facebook. We told kids, our friends, design a shoe, and we'll let you guys vote on it, and the winning shoe gets developed, and it'll go to retail, and you get 100 shoes for the next 5 years. We were adding 20 friends roughly per week on Facebook. We've had 3,000 in 2 weeks, just with this campaign alone. The viral videos, skate videos, have always been very underground. Take some kids to a bowl, shoot some video, put it to music, put it out there. We want to do things differently, and I've got a quick example here of our oldest skater, a guy named Matt Rodriguez, dreadlocked, Sacramento, and my comment to the skate team manager was, what is Matt all about other than skating? Well, guess what? Matt's a musician, and Matt's an artist, and Matt built an entire skate park in his backyard for his son out of reclaimed wood from Sacramento. That's an amazing story, but we've never told it, so we just told it. Let's get this going.
Don't mind the glitz, the bronze, silver, or the gold. Just pay attention, stay focused on learning something new and creative that skateboarding is, and pay attention to having fun, and don't worry about who's better, who's the best. It's not about that, or who can show who up, because if skateboarding was a contest, he who has the most fun will win.
I flip-flop these videos, but so this is an effort to distance ourselves from that sort of X Games skateboard. I mean, to us, it's a passion for the sport as opposed to competing. This is the one actually I wanted to jump forward.
As far as my main goal and inspiration for the ramp was to try to build it all from recycled materials, re-salvaged ground, stuff in alleyways, old construction site rubbish, totally build it out of the spirit of reuse.
Yeah, that's a typical thing I hear. He's like, oh man, it's like, and he's like showing me it before it was even built. He was like, it's like bad cramp right here is mold, you know what I'm saying?
This Sunday I have my boy's 7th birthday, so I'll be done just in time for him and his little skate rat friends to come blaze it and have the time of their life. Cake and ice cream and frontside carving. The inspiration on the trannies being pretty much unconventional is like Neil Blender all the way. I remember watching crazy old skate videos. He just has the craziest, steepest raps. Like, what are you doing? far as, you know, the ramp being recycled and primarily wanting to do it out of salvaged wood, you know, I try to use that mentality and effort towards all the things, like old instruments, sand them down, restain them, you know, old bikes, you know, grind them down, repaint them. The ramp is definitely just a version of that, but in ramp form, you know.
So the guy is a really interesting guy, but his story was never told. A year ago, that video would have been Matt Rodriguez skating a bowl in some backyard in you know, Placentia. This is a totally different story, and it's interesting. These are you probably can't read these, but we got some pretty incredible comments because we were trying to get feedback on how the audience would receive what we've done to the brand. And for those of you that can't see it, and the first one, this is from a traditional skateboard blog, which if you're generally on it, you are getting hammered. I mean, you do not want to be on Slap magazine for any reason whatsoever. These all came off of Slap, these top three. Inspiring on so many levels, stoked to hear how he equates performing music and painting with skating. I've got to stop watching epic clips like this in the first hour of work. It makes the other 7 hours almost unbearable. Every skate shop in the country should band together and make it a requirement for every kid who buys his first board to watch this movie first. And then from Facebook, I've been thinking for a while now about how skateboarding has become so promotion-oriented, which promotes by default a very destructive form of capitalism, a form that by its very nature seems opposed to the values that drew me to skating in the first place. It's been a very long time since I felt good about watching what is in essence a commercial. This made me want to go skate. This is good work promoting good things. We were pretty surprised because we didn't know what kind of reaction we'd get, but it reaffirmed for us that this is the right path, and we have a latent audience that's waiting to be discovered that believes in what we're trying to do with this brand. And then, so this brings me to my next point, and I'm gonna preface it. Okay, I'm gonna preface it by saying tragedy of choice. I'm not gonna be able to show this in 2 minutes. Well, we have time for some questions. Okay, so we want to be different. We want to be viral. We don't want to do the backyard skate parks. We want to reach young kids by doing something unique. We sent our riders to Moab, Utah, and had them skate rock with polyurethane wheels. One of the first comments we got back from a young kid was, "Did you guys damage the rock?" We got a lot of positive comments too, but I'll tell you this, and I'll play a little bit just so you can see it because it is quite interesting. The feedback was enormous on this because it wasn't your traditional skate video. I won't play it all.
Get some energy in that. Just gonna sit down the side of the hills. Like that's my
Sorry?
favorite part about being out here is just like seeing how fast you can go.
So no one had ever done this before.
Riding over all the bumps and stuff because it's all unlevel.
I don't even know. It's not even like skating. It's like pretend like you're water just going down a mountain. You just see the line where water would be flowing. You just take that line and it just brings you wherever you need to go. It's not easy. Everything's different. Cracks everywhere, bumps. It's pretty fun. You gotta look at everything a little bit creative because nothing's perfect out here spot-wise.
Some sick landscape, totally like wind, water, sand blasted hillsides that have tranny.
So again, I'm gonna kind of wrap here, but the tragedy of choice for me is every single day in every function. From that skate video got a ton of viral hits, yet environmentally was it the best thing for us to do? I have an East Coast investment group that has bought this company that wants to see bottom line information, yet I'm trying to tell them we need time. Let us develop our core values. Let us develop that emotional attachment to our customers. Give us time. Even with our own employees on the social side, the brand has always done Earth Day projects. They've always done beach cleanups. They've always done refurbing bathrooms at skate parks. We never talked about it. Those are the things that we're going to continue to do. Those 5 core values that we established will continue to occur. But again, the jury's out. And I will tell you, every single day, as a leader of this company, I face questions. And I face questions from my consumers. I face questions from myself with my own model. And I face questions from my investors. And it's a really bad economy. So again, the jury's out. But I think what's interesting is that you'll hear from Scott and Casey and very successful models. I'm knee deep, and I hope in 3 years my case study is a success story, and I can come back and tell you what iPath is, and that we're this big and we're doing the right thing for the environment and socially, and we're a big happy company and growing 30% a year like my counterparts here. So, questions?
I'm an executive recruiter, so I have to ask this question. When you took the transportation job, my primary job as a recruiter would have been to talk to you and talk to company out of making that match, because obviously at the core value it wasn't the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was anyone during your process of taking the job, was anyone working with you and trying to get to the level of, well, it's more money and it's this and it's prestigious? Was anyone counterbalancing you as far as questioning why are you taking this job, why at this time? Because people make career decisions, and a lot of times they can't see.
Yeah. I reached out to, I was working with a recruiter. I wished he was that balanced. He was not. I reached out to a lot of people, and it was a mixed bag. I wish the balance had weighed more towards bad idea, doesn't fit your pillars, But I think now looking back in retrospect, I see why it didn't fit, but maybe at the time I didn't. It was definitely a again, tragedy of choice, and tragically I made the choice. But I'm happy, I love what I'm doing, and I think Patagonia is an unbelievable model, and I've taken what I learned there, and I'm trying to implement it now in a new company. Joe?
Yeah, when you come into a company like this that doesn't necessarily have all the established values that you want to get to, and we are in a bad economy, how do you convince your investors to say, hey, stick with me, let me, this will pay off?
That's why I'm flying to Boston tomorrow, or Monday, rather. That's part of the conversation, because our bookings for spring weren't what we wanted, so they've come back and said, okay, now we'll cut back marketing. Well, you all know from your case studies, if sales drop and then you cut marketing, it's a death spiral. So we're headed back east this week to meet with the investors and say, and sell the dream, essentially. This is what we've done so far. This is some of the great things we've done. We're gaining traction here and here and here. We just got a big order from this retailer, but bear with us. It's not easy. That's probably the biggest challenge, frankly, that I face today.
Yes, Brandley Johnson. I'm the Director Entrepreneurial Mission Capital President at CGU. And I'm just curious to ask you, when you first joined up with iPad, was there something very specific that stood out to you as an opportunity that set them apart? So you said, this is a real opportunity to change this company and make it really grow, or not?
I would not have taken this job for any other skate footwear company. But this company was always so different. Their footwear was different. Their environmental materials were different. They were the anti-skates. They were the one that kind of stood out. This is probably the only footwear brand I would have joined, because I thought we had the opportunity to migrate the brand towards something bigger than what it was. And migrating a brand's not easy. But I don't want to call it revolutionizing the brand. We're migrating it away from sort of that, what it was, but keeping elements that it had in place. But it's a challenge. Yep.
SEER program here. When you talk about changing or migrating the brand, are you talking about creating more of a lifestyle company?
Exactly. Exactly. We'll always want to service the core, and we'll always have that skate team. We'll always service those core shops. Again, when you think about the core shops, and just to put it in perspective, there's about 600 in the U.S. The average buy is probably $2,000 to $5,000. Generally, they have a tough time paying you on time. That's not where our needle is going to get moved. Our needle is going to get moved in the regional chains, which they want a lifestyle product. So many action sports brands now are moving towards what they call action sports lifestyle. 80% of the skate footwear shoes that are classified skate footwear never touch the grip tape on a skateboard. That's an industry fact. It's kids wearing Vans to school. And so that being said, on the 80-20 rule of effort, do I need to put 80% of my effort into these skate shops? No, but I need to be there. I have to be present.
When your investors said yes, what were 3 or 4 of the reasons you wanted to invest in the company?
I think it was they own very different companies outside the industry. I think it was more of in this particular case, from my perspective, I think it was kind of a neat thing to own for these guys. They've got kids, and hey, I own a skate brand, and but we'll have some hard discussions. It takes time. Brands don't evolve overnight. Patagonia did not. Athleta and Prana did not. Vans did not. These brands take time. So that's the key message. Thank you.